Hi, I'm Mario Martinez Jr. from Vengreso, and you are listening to the Social Media Talks podcast with Alan Hennessy from compassmedia.ie.
Before we begin this episode, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors and also our supporters. The Social Media Talks podcast is sponsored by Content Cal, creating a solution to simplify and speed up how teams can plan, collaborate on, approve, publish and analyze social media content in a familiar and intuitive calendar interface. In just 3 years, they have been trusted by over 10,000 businesses and agencies in 110 countries to deliver social media content at scale and have recently won an award for the Content Management Tool of the Year. For more information on Content Cal, visit their website at contentcal.io. We would also like to remind you the Social Media Talks podcast is proudly supported by charityradio.ie, one of Ireland's leading online radio stations supporting charities across Ireland for free. And now, this week's episode.
Welcome to Social Media Talks podcasts, brought to you by compassmedia.ie.
Hello and thank you for joining me. This is the Social Media Talks podcast, brought to you by compassmedia.ie, episode number 79. I'm your host, Alan Hennessy, and this is the podcast to help business owners who want to learn more about social media marketing. And if you'd like to listen to any of our previous podcasts, you can log on to our website at compassmedia.ie/podcasts. You can also join our Facebook group by logging on to facebook.com/groups/social media talks. And we're looking forward to today's show. Today I'm going to be joined by Mario Martinez Jr. And Mario is the CEO and co-founder of Vengreso. He has spent 84 consecutive quarters in B2B sales and leadership roles, growing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue annually. Mario is one of 20 sales influencers invited to appear in the Salesforce documentary film, The Story of Sales, launched in 2018, and was recognized in 2019 as one of the top social media leaders by Social Shakeup. As a renowned digital sales evangelist, Mario teaches marketing and sales professionals how to develop an engaging personal brand to attract today's modern buyer using the digital sales ecosystem. Mario is also the host of the popular Selling with Social podcast and has been featured in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, and was formerly a contributor to the Huffington Post. He is a highly sought-after keynote speaker with brands such as LinkedIn, Cisco, and many more. And he is also known to open up his speeches and keynotes with a salsa dance. And we will be asking more about that throughout the interview as well. But today we're going to be talking all about modern sales strategies and how you can be more effective with them on digital. So without further ado, I think we will transition straight over to the interview with Mario. Hi Mario, how are you? Thanks for joining us today on the Social Media Talks podcast. It's a pleasure to have your company. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much, Alan, for having me on your podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Brilliant stuff. And of course, today we're going to be talking about modern sales strategies to start your messaging. So it really is, it's an interesting subject, and we're going to be delving deep into this. So I suppose before we get started, if you could maybe give us a little bit of a brief background about yourself before we get stuck into our chosen topic today.
Sure. So I grew up in sales, B2B sales specifically. This is my 22nd year inside of sales and selling. I spent about 18 years in corporate, leading teams to drive and deliver after a number. And then this little crazy thing called the internet happened, and I was asked to speak at LinkedIn's annual users conference after having deployed a digital sales and video sales program. And a brand equity, Alan, looked like a straight line walking in to that particular event. Those of you can't see, where I'm in person here with Alan and I'm showing my arm. It did a vertical straight line up afterwards after speaking at LinkedIn's annual users conference. It was a phenomenal experience. And after that, 3 months later, I went on my own attempting to help companies, sales teams, those those responsible for revenue to help drive more sales conversations and increase their sales win rates. So I'm the CEO and founder of Vengreso, and I'm excited to be here.
Brilliant stuff. And of course, we had one of your other members of your team on a couple of months back, Vivica. And yes, she was. We had a lot of fun on that podcast as well. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun on this as well, as much as we're going to learn a lot as well. So
I'm not as pretty as Vivica. So and she's a lot sweeter than I am. So, but I'll try. I'll try my best to fill the shoes.
Brilliant stuff. Really, we're talking here about modern sales strategies, and really we're talking about digital marketing and digital, all your digital assets and stuff like that. And I think it's so important to have, I suppose, the sales strategy before you go and put anything up on social media or digital marketing. So with regards to that, when you have that, we then move on to messaging and getting that message out there. So what are your thoughts on that? How should we go about it, I suppose?
Well, let's talk about a couple things first. Let's divide digital marketing versus and social media marketing versus digital selling and digital sales strategies, right? So if you look at digital marketing and social media marketing, which I head up social media for Vengreso, also I was intimately involved with this with building my own personal brand. You're looking at the strategies that focus on a one-to-many type of marketing arrangement. Yeah, that's one-to-many. Social media marketing, digital marketing, those are all one-to-many. Digital selling, on the other hand, is really focused on the individual person that's responsible for revenue. So if you're a small business owner, if you're a salesperson, if you're a manager of a small sales team, whatever the case might be, that is focused on really one-to-one type of engagement. So when you think about digital marketing, social media marketing, and digital selling, are they the same? Well, yes and no. They could be the same in various different elements, but you're really focused on hyper-targeted messaging, one-to-one, that delivers the marketing that you need as a seller or as someone responsible for revenue to be able to create a conversation. That's what you're focused on. Whereas generally on the digital marketing side and the social media marketing side, you're really focused on one-to-many, creating that top of funnel brand awareness. You might be running specific campaigns that will drive mid-funnel type of activities, generally not a bottom of the funnel, but generally top of the funnel, middle, and middle of the funnel at the very, very lowest. So I think it's important for people to understand that there's a difference. And as a small business owner, or as a small sales team, or as someone that's responsible as an owner of a company, you've got to do both. Yeah. Right? You have to do both. You cannot live with one without the other. And also, if you focus in on the digital selling strategies, it will naturally bleed right over into digital marketing. Now, when I was a soloist, before I merged a company underneath Vengreso, did I pay for a bunch of money to do social media marketing? Did I spend a lot of advertising dollars? No, not at all. In fact, I did most of this without spending a single dollar. Wow. It wasn't until I started allocating a few $100s a month that I started doing remarketing only, no other advertisements. So if somebody hit my website, we'd cookie their computer, and then I would serve up advertisements to them to be able to bring them in at the top of the funnel. Where I focus majority of my attention at, and where I think makes the biggest impact as a soloist, as a salesperson, as someone responsible for revenue, as a business owner, is really this digital selling concept. Now, what is digital selling? It's learning how to leverage digital forums or mediums to create one-to-one sales conversations. And that could be through email, it could be using video, it could be leveraging social. Now, the biggest driver with digital selling is going to be, for B2B, LinkedIn. Secondarily, it'll be Twitter. And then thirdly, you can start building your brand using tools like YouTube, okay? So let's restate what I just said. Ranking: LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. Now, arguably, depending on what you're providing, YouTube might actually trump Twitter, depending on what you're providing. If you're providing a product, even though it's B2B, it might be a very visible, high touch type of product, right? And if that's the case, then YouTube and video content might work really well for you. So the focus as an individual is to drive ultimately to two goals. One, how to create more sales conversations. And number two, how to increase your chances of winning when you're involved in a specific account. And that's really the focus there, right? So think about this from this perspective: how to create more sales conversations. We call it sales prospecting. When we talk about digital selling, also sometimes referred to as social selling, which is not. Social selling is just leveraging social, whereas digital is using video, email, social. So it's the overarching umbrella. But when you talk about leveraging digital selling, you want to be thinking about, am I just doing basically a bunch of cold calling or cold messaging on LinkedIn? Am I just tweeting at people? No. That's not what we're talking about. Before you even engage on any of these platforms, you need to think about first what the process looks like to be able to engage. And this is very important for someone who wants to leverage this digital format. You need to think about what the process looks like before you start engaging with someone. Now I'll pause there to see if you had any questions.
Yeah, no, it's so much. There's so much content in that, but I agree totally with what you're saying. Is I think you do have to sort of, before you make any movement, is to actually to start to think about that process and saying, okay, well, where do we go from here, and how do we get to that stage? Because it's like the best laid plans. You can jump onto social media or digital or whatever it may be, in whatever shape or form that you're going to do, whether that be an email blast or whatever. But if you're just putting out an email blast out there to 1,000 people and you're not really targeting, you're not really focusing in on what you're going to do, your message is going to get, I suppose it's just going to get lost in the ether as much as anything else. So I think, as you say, having that strategy and having that process prior to actually doing anything is so important. But I do totally agree with the points you have made so far.
Well, a lot of people are responsible for trying to drive revenue make the mistake that they get out there and they start engaging, they start liking, commenting, looking people up, they start sending in-mails, as an example, they start tweeting and retweeting. And I would say, whoa, stop for a second. First you got to stop. Buyers are smarter today than they ever were before.
Oh,
because of this
1,000 times more.
Say that again?
1,000 times more. Oh, it's just incredible. Like, we no longer as marketers control what people do. They control us. They tell us what they want. So it's become the complete opposite.
Well, there's a saying that buyers have gotten smarter about buying faster than sellers have gotten at selling.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
And that's because of this little thing called the internet. It's just a small little thing. You may have heard of it, right?
Yeah. It's just in the background there.
It's just a small little background on the internet. But what we need to be thinking about is, look, if I'm going to engage with somebody through a digital medium, I have to first understand who is my buyer persona. Then I have to make sure that I have value that I will bring to them, right? So that is super important as you are going through this process. Most people want to start out there and they want to learn how to fish and where to fish using a platform like LinkedIn. They want to go straight into fishing. Here's the problem with going straight into fishing on LinkedIn. Do not try to engage online. Do not try to teach yourself how to fish or where to fish. Do not go through a sales training program that is going to teach you how to fish or where to fish if you first do not have the right bait to bait your hook. Now, what is the bait? It's called content. Content is the bait. Content brings value to the conversation you may be having with a particular buyer or with a potential buyer that you want to have a conversation with. Content answers questions of the how to, what to, when to, where to, why to. Right? All those questions that you are trying to figure out, that your buyers are trying to figure out, you want to be able to create that content. Now, content can be in the form of a blog. It can be in the form of a video. It can be in the form of an ebook. It can be in the form of a third-party article coming from like Forbes, Inc., wherever. Content can be the bait that you bait your hook with. Now, if anybody is following this fishing analogy, before you go out and teach a man or woman how to fish, even if you took them all the way out into the middle of the ocean where there's tens of thousands of tuna that are swarming around in a nice big giant circle, and you cast your line in and you got no bait, are you going to get anything?
No, absolutely nothing.
All right, now let's pretend that we're going out, we're going to go catch, I don't know, some big fish. Pick a big fish.
Shark.
We're gonna go out to the waters to go swarm where the shark are there, and we're gonna go catch shark. Let's pretend I've got the right bait. Yeah, I got the right bait. Now I put it on my fishing pole and I cast my line in, and I go to catch these shark using a fishing pole that is designed to catch salmon. The wrong fishing pole will get you still 0 results. So why do we care about this fishing pole? This fishing pole is what we call the ultimate powerful LinkedIn profile. The LinkedIn profile, you've got the right bait. As soon as someone sees your bait and they have interest in it, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to click back on your LinkedIn profile to see, who is this Mario Martinez Jr. guy? What is Mario Martinez Jr. all about? That's your fishing pole. Is your fishing pole set up, designed, structure to capture the fish you're looking to capture, to attract the fish that you're looking to attract? Or is it empty? Or if you're a salesperson, does it read quota crushing sales rep, all-time President's Club earner, best contract negotiator? Or does it actually read who you help, how you help, what business problem you solve, and does it bring in other great content that helps a buyer understand all of these different elements and components? So that's really important when you look at this fishing pole. So first, get the right bait. Second, make sure you've got the right sized fishing pole to catch the fish you want to attract. And this requires that you retool your LinkedIn profile. And statistically, let me give you some additional information. LinkedIn reported last year in their state of sales report that 62% of buyers reported back that when a salesperson reached out to them, 62% of them said they looked back at the LinkedIn profile of the salesperson.
Totally. I would totally agree with that. I see it every day. We deal with a lot of companies that would look at LinkedIn and how they can, they can capitalize on the platform and how they can actually gain sales leads, lead generation, so on and so forth. But I think that's where they all miss out is they don't actually do the basics of, setting up your LinkedIn profile, making sure that it's there, it's information that people are going to look at. Because that's the first thing I do. And when I meet anybody, I will automatically go to the profile on LinkedIn and I see exactly who they are. And I can tell very quickly, like I had a guy who actually wanted to try and connect with me, and I went straight to his LinkedIn profile and all he had was his name, and that was it. And I went, what's the point in you having a LinkedIn profile and sending people to that LinkedIn profile if there's absolutely nothing there to show me? And of course, what's my first thing I did? Declined it. Good luck, out of here. Unfollow. Bye. See you later. Whereas if I have someone that has added value onto their LinkedIn profile, and also it shows up a lot of things, I think, Mario, where it shows up, that you are actually engaging with people, you're actually taking some pride in what you're putting out there as well, and it shows that, and that shines through. And I think a lot of people don't use that as a tool, and they don't realize how valuable that can be. So as you say, with that, having the right rod, it has to be 100% right before you can actually start moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just no different than fishing, right? You got to have the bait. You got to have the right fishing pole. Otherwise, what's the point in someone taking you out to teach you where to fish and how to fish if you don't have the right equipment to be able to get you to catch what it is you want to catch? So this is really, I mean, like if people are listening to this, that they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I would never go get on a boat and go do an 8-hour ocean experience to go fish if I knew that I wasn't going to have any bait to cast my line with, and if I knew that I was going to have all the wrong fishing poles to catch the fish that I was hoping to catch on this excursion. You wouldn't do it. Don't waste your money. So salespeople, business owners, don't waste your time. That's important. Don't waste your time if you're not going to do the right things. And then once you've got the right bait, once you've got the right fishing pole with the right messaging on your LinkedIn profile, now you are ready to learn how to fish and where to fish at. And thus we have programs that we teach, of course, on LinkedIn and how to leverage LinkedIn. GotSalesConversations.com. Those types of tools will help an individual. And that is why when we look at our 6 phases to transforming into a modern seller for modern sales success, it starts with number 1, mindset. You have to recognize this thing called the internet is not going away.
Yeah, it is.
And
here.
You get up with the times, and a lot of entrepreneurs or small business owners, especially if they've had their companies for any length of period of time, they're hoping that somebody else figures out this thing called the internet and comes back to them and tells them, no, you need to control that experience as a business owner, and you need to understand that it's not going away. That's number one. Number two, brand yourself correctly. And we have on Vengreso.com, there's a tool that we have called the Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn Profiles for Sales Professionals. The Ultimate Guide to LinkedIn Profiles for Sales Professionals. And inside there, we tell you exactly how to write it. And that's a problem for many people because, they have to think about how to write 2,000 characters of content for their summary, their experience. They have to think about the call to reads, think about the different pieces of content, think about the banner headlines, the contact information, all those things. It can be done on your own. Or you work with companies like ourselves or others that will actually transform your LinkedIn profile specifically for people responsible for revenue. And that's very important. So that's why it's mindset. Then we talk about how to brand yourself. Then we talk about how to find and engage, how to then connect, and then how to feed your network, and finally how to put it all together inside of a cadence program. Those are the 6 phases to transforming into a modern seller. And that's why we teach it in that order.
And I think that's very important because, as you say, it's a process, and that process, if you skip a step, it's just not going to work. Then they don't gel. It's like everything. It's like learning to read, learning to write. It's exactly the same. And I think it's so vitally important that when we start, working through this process and we have our profile and we start then to engage and connect on, especially on LinkedIn. Like, I've found so many businesses, so many business owners and entrepreneurs there that when they say, oh yeah, well, I connected with 100 people today. And I'm going, really? Would you connect with 100 people if you were in a shop? And you say, probably not. So why are you just spamming and just trying to get, I want to try and get my numbers up? And I always say, it's quality as opposed to quantity. I don't care if you only have 50 LinkedIn connections or you have 5,000 LinkedIn connections. It's the value that you're going to bring to me. So, and I think people get that, and I think they see that and they go, oh, but I have to have enough and I go, no, you don't. And I think it's a big myth that people are not taking that into consideration.
I would 100% agree with you, with one exception. And the exception is if all you're trying to do is brand and create brand awareness to create likes and impressions and not create money, then go for that strategy and have a massive connection strategy that builds up for your brand. But remember this, you cannot take likes and clicks to the bank.
No, they won't.
You cannot take likes and
clicks. They
will
not accept it.
But it is an important strategy though, Alan. It is an important strategy, especially as a business owner, if you're trying to build up your reputation. But remember, don't just connect with everybody. Know who your ICP is, your individual customer profile, and target those individuals. And you can develop a connection strategy that allows you to be able to grow your brand in a significant way.
Yeah, I would always say to people, the best way to connect with people is find the people that you want to do business with, or people that you want to engage with, and then connect with them, because it's through their connections that you're going to find a lot more other like-minded people that you want to connect with. And I think that's, a huge part of, especially with LinkedIn, because I think it's probably one of the most powerful platforms when it comes to B2B. And it's a great resource as well for information. It's also a great resource for sharing your content and gaining that visibility, which will inevitably will convert into that conversion of a sale or whatever it may be, or that working relationship with that particular customer.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's it's so important. So with regards to when it comes to, okay, so we're through that, sort of halfway through that process or so. In regards to, say, branding ourselves, what are the key elements of, I suppose, personal branding?
Well, a couple of key elements that you should be thinking about is that your LinkedIn profile, unless you're looking for a new job, should be a resume, not a resource. Right? And so that's the first thing you want to be thinking about is when someone comes to my LinkedIn profile, do I have a website? Do I have a personal website that answers the questions, who I help, how I help, and what business problem I solve? That's very important. Another one, when you look at your LinkedIn profile, this was a LinkedIn heat map study that was done at least 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, or 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe 6 years ago. Is the first thing that people look at on a LinkedIn profile is your photo. Why do people first look at your photo? Because they want to determine whether or not you are somebody that they can trust, they can do business with. So a couple of things to think about as you think about your photo. First is the settings on your LinkedIn settings set up so that your photo is displayed to all, to everyone. If it's not, then what happens when you go to engage with somebody that is a second degree or a third degree connection is you show up to the event, to the party with a bag over your head because your photo is blocked. Now, if you walked in, Alan, to a networking event, a real live networking event with 100 people, and you had a bag on your head, people might be curious to figure out who the heck you were, but would also think, I'm really not going to go and talk to that individual because I don't know who that person is. They're a little crazy, right? So don't walk in, people, with a bag on your head. Change your settings. Go to your LinkedIn profile. Change your settings so it's a public profile so that everyone can see your picture. Now, the next part about your picture is, do you have a half arm inside there? Somebody else's back from behind you? Is it you and your wedding photo? Do you have your significant other next to you? All these things that people have, it's crazy to me that people don't realize the most important element to be able to build trust is the smile. First, show your pearly white teeth. And secondly, make sure it's a headshot, upper chest shot to the top of the head so that people can see who you are. And please, please make sure that that photo is not older than 5 years old, because if it's older than 5 years old and you're about 40, 50 pounds heavier, or you've lost your hair, right? You lost your hair, then, it might look a little weird when you go to meet that person. They may not know who you are. So that's what I would say is to make sure on the photo. The next thing you want to be thinking about is that your LinkedIn headline. Your LinkedIn headline is what's stated right below your name. And in that headline area, most people make the mistake of just putting in account executive, CEO, founder. Well, if you're responsible for revenue, whether you're a CEO, which I am on the front lines as a selling CEO of we're the world's largest digital sales training company, and I still make sales calls. In fact, 40 minutes before this podcast here, I was making a sales call to 2 executive leaders for my sales team, right? So I am still on the front lines, and I don't care how big I get, I will be in the field with the sales team selling, because that's what we should be doing as leaders. So what does your headline say? Does it say founder, CEO, or does it discuss who you help and how you help and what business problem you might solve? That's super important that you do that within 120 characters, because once they look at your profile photo, the next place they look at, according to the LinkedIn heat map study that I mentioned to you done a while back, is your headline. And then beyond that is your summary. Right? So now that summary, you may know is now called the about section. It's now called the about section. You may not have seen this on a LinkedIn profile, but now you only get about 2 lines worth of content before you have to click that see more button. So the summary is super important, aka the about section is super important to have a call to read, For example, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, Mario Martinez Jr., it says, I had a dream. Period. That dream came true when, and so what it's doing is it's bringing in people into an emotional tie into my story. Now, other call to reads might be suffering from, right? And you might state the business problem that you might solve. And so if this way, when a buyer looks at your profile, they're like, yes. And as an example, I might say suffering from lack of sales conversations. That's what I might say for Vengreso. As a VP of sales, if I'm looking back at Mario's profile and I look at this, suffering from lack of sales conversations, I would say, yes, I am. Yes. Now what does that trigger me to do?
Also to read on.
Exactly right. To keep on reading. So those are 4 major tips that I can give you from, your resume, is turn your resume into a resource. Make sure you've got the great profile photo, make sure you've got a great headline, and make sure you've got the right call to read in your summary. Now, of course, there are at least 6 other items, but those are at least 4.
Yeah, and I think they're probably the key ones, because they're supposed to, as much as anything else, at the top of the fold of a screen. So they're the first point of contact that people are going to see, and then as you say, when they start seeing that, and if they enjoy it and they look and they find it interesting, they're going to read down, and then they're going to explore more. But as you say, I think they are the key points to it. But I can see exactly like some of the content that we've talked about here tonight, it has been really, really insightful, and hopefully it is going to help a lot of people with their LinkedIn profiles, and also across all of their digital assets and digital marketing, and I suppose their sales as well, because I think that's key important here, because at the end of the day, we're all here to, I suppose, to make them conversions, because I think that is the key point of us using these digital assets as well.
Absolutely.
Vengreso is probably one of the best, like if you're looking for even for blog content or for podcasts. I know, Mario, you have your own podcast. It's Selling with Social, and it's really, really insightful. So you should, guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you should definitely check out Mario's as well. It's well worth a listen to it, and has some fantastic guests as well. We always ask our guests at the end of the podcast one simple question, and it's not related to anything we're talking about here. It's a question that we've asked over the last 70 odd episodes, and we're not going to change it today. The question I would ask you is if you had the chance to invite someone to dinner, whether it be past or present, who would it be and why?
Oh boy, so many people, interesting personalities. But I guess if I had somebody that I would want to invite to spend some time with, I would probably love to sit down and talk with Les Brown. Okay. Les Brown actually is a motivational speaker, and you may know him from the stories that he tells about being hungry. Have you ever seen that YouTube video?
Yeah, I have,
with Les Brown? I really enjoy his style, and the story that he tells about being hungry and how he himself started out working at the at the radio station and how he came to be. So I would say I would love to sit down with Les Brown. He's still alive. I reached out to him maybe a couple years ago to have that conversation, but I haven't been able to make that connection. So Les Brown.
Brilliant stuff. Mario, how can people get in contact with you if they want to chat with you?
The first thing that I would probably say is you can find me on LinkedIn. Hey. I'm Mario Martinez Jr. Make sure that when you reach out to me, that you tell me that you heard me on the Social Media Talks podcast inside of a personalized connection request message. Certainly on Twitter, it's at the letter MTHREE for 3JR. M3JR is my Twitter handle. And Vengreso.com. A couple of the resources that I mentioned today is the Selling with LinkedIn sales training program. It's can be found at gotsalesconversations.com. And you can go directly there. And we also help with LinkedIn profiles as well, Alan. So if someone needs some help there and they don't want to rewrite all that content, no worries. Our writers will take care of it for you.
Brilliant stuff. And of course, we will put all of the information that we have been talking about here in the show notes as well. So just in case you're trying to scribble down notes, you can go to our show notes and you'll be able to find out. And we'll put also all the links as well to all the different training courses and to Vengreso and all Mario's social media links as well. Mario, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, and thanks for sharing some fantastic insights there, and we look forward to talking to you very, very soon, and we wish you continued success in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, buddy.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for joining us today on the Social Media Talks podcast, and hopefully you learned some great information and also insights from our guests today. And if you'd like to listen to any of our previous podcasts, you can log on to our website at compassmedia.ie/podcasts. And all of our podcasts are available on all the usual podcast providers, including Stitcher Radio, Google Play, Mixcloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we would be delighted if you would leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, as we are always thrilled to receive your feedback on any of the programs. You can also subscribe to the podcast there so you never miss an episode as well. And if you'd like the show notes for this episode or for any of the previous episodes, please log on to our website at compassmedia.ie/show notes. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please do get in contact with us. All you have to do is email us at smtalks@compassmedia.ie. And if you'd like to find out more about the services that Compass Media provide, from social media marketing and training to podcast services, please visit our website for more details. You can also reach out and connect with me across all of the social networks, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and I will personally answer every one of your requests. That's about all for today. I've been Alan Hennessy from Compass Media for the Social Media Talks podcast, and we look forward to talking to you next week. And as I always say, be social. So until next week at the same time, bye-bye.
Social Media Talks podcast is a production from compassmedia.ie.